Claire had never imagined that baking something so simple, so quiet, would one day become the cause of tension inside a family she barely understood. Before she met Adam, she lived in a compact city apartment that constantly smelled of warm vanilla, fresh citrus zest, and melting butter. Baking was her sanctuary. She didn't do it for attention or ambition. She did it because it brought her peace. And yet, without trying, she became the person everyone called when they needed a cake, a pie, cookies, or something special for a celebration. Her cheesecakes were legendary, smooth, creamy, light as air. Her cakes held surprises inside: chocolate layers, hidden berries, swirls of caramel that people never saw coming. Neighbors paid her on weekends to bake for them. Friends reminded her she could run a business if she wanted to, but she never pushed it. She baked the way others breathe naturally, quietly. Then she met Adam. He was warm, gentle, steady. He admired her talent with genuine awe, the kind that didn't feel like flattery. When he asked her to move to his small hometown to be close to his aging parents, she agreed out of love. She expected an adjustment period, a new environment, maybe a new rhythm. She did not expect hostility. Marla and Denise, Adam's sisters, welcomed her with polite smiles that never reached their eyes. They came from a family that clung fiercely to tradition, where every holiday dish had been the same for years, where each person had an unspoken role. Claire tried to blend in, to be respectful, but she learned quickly. She was viewed as an intruder. The first Christmas she spent with them revealed everything. Claire had found a local farmer who grew incredible fruit berries, so bright and sweet they made her day. She planned a beautiful, surprise-filled cake for Christmas dinner and eagerly shared the idea with Marla and Denise. Their reaction was cold enough to frost the windows. "Oh, don't bother," Marla said. "We always buy dessert from the store," Denise added. "It's tradition." It wasn't the words that stung, it was the tone, a warning disguised as politeness. Claire backed off, not wanting to create conflict. When Christmas came, the sisters proudly carried in their traditional store-bought dessert, a dense, rock-hard cake with thick, artificial frosting. It looked more like a construction material than food. During dinner, young Lena attempted to cut into it. The knife jammed halfway, refusing to go further. She tapped the cake twice with her fork, producing a hollow clunk. Then, in the loudest whisper a child could manage, she said, "Aunt Claire, should we use this to build a brick house?" Laughter filled the room, except from Marla and Denise. Claire didn't laugh, but inside, something warmed a tiny spark of truth that wouldn't disappear. Over the years, Claire rebuilt her baking life quietly. Neighbors smelled her creations and began placing orders. Adam bragged endlessly about her talent. Her kitchen slowly transformed into a semi-professional workspace again. But the more praise Claire received, the more threatened Marla and Denise became. They refused to let her bring dessert to any family gathering. They claimed it would break tradition, though the only tradition was a stale, dry cake no one ate except out of politeness. Meanwhile, their children adored Claire. Whenever Lena and her little brother Max visited, they sprinted into her kitchen. "Auntie Claire, can I stir the batter? Auntie Claire, can we make the surprise cake? Auntie Claire, can I crack the eggs?" Their joy was pure, their loyalty unintentional, and their affection for Claire grew year after year. Then came the day everything shifted. The entire family gathered at Adam's parents' house to discuss a serious medical issue. Once the heavy conversation ended, they moved into Christmas planning. Claire and Adam were hosting this year. Claire, trying to be fair, said gently, "I'll prepare all the food. Marla, Denise, you two can bring dessert." Before either woman could respond, Lena spoke up sharply. "No, not that awful cake again." The room snapped into silence. Marla's eyes widened. Denise stiffened. Adam inhaled sharply. But Lena kept going. "Why can't Claire make dessert too? She actually knows how to bake." Denise opened her mouth, but no words came out. Adam tried to soothe things. "Kiddo, your mom and aunt like the store cake." "No one likes it," Lena shot back. "It tastes like drywall." Claire stepped in calmly. trying to protect the fragile piece. "It's tradition," she said softly. "We should respect what makes them feel at home." Lena frowned but stayed quiet. The damage, however, was done. Later, while Claire washed dishes, Lena approached with a shy look. "Next time I come over, can you make me the surprise cake? The chocolate one?" Claire smiled warmly. "Of course." But after that day, Claire began hearing small whispers. She's taking over. She wants everyone to like her more. The kids prefer her. Not hatred, just fear. Fear of being replaced by someone who didn't even want their place. 2 days before Christmas, Claire dreamt of standing in her kitchen, every oven glowing, every bowl full, every mixer running. Behind her, she heard two voices whispering, anxious, frantic, but she couldn't make out the words. She woke with unease settling in her chest. On Christmas Day, Claire's home glowed with soft lights and warm aromas. She and Adam prepared everything. The table looked perfect. Then Marla and Denise arrived, empty-handed. "We figured since you're hosting," Marla said, "you could handle dessert too." A clear message. We decide traditions. You don't. Claire didn't react. Instead, she simply returned to the kitchen and retrieved the dessert she'd already made. A tall, beautiful cake, decorated with berries, chocolate curls, and a hidden surprise layer. When she placed it on the table and lifted the lid, Lena screamed with joy. The adults gasped. Compliments flowed. Even Adam's father, normally stoic, murmured, "This is incredible." Then came the moment that changed everything. "Why do we get that gross store cake every year?" Max asked loudly. "No one eats it." The room froze. Marla and Denise paled. But not one adult defended the tradition. For the first time, the truth was undeniable. The laughter around the table slowly died down, but the tension remained thick, almost visible. Marla and Denise exchanged stiff glances, both realizing that the children had spoken a truth they'd been trying to bury for years. Claire said nothing. She didn't need to. The cake spoke for itself, and so did the silence around the untouched tradition. After dinner, the mood grew unexpectedly warm. Adam's parents praised Claire's dishes, the children begged for second slices, and Adam offered a quiet smile every time Claire caught his eye. It wasn't triumph, it was relief. Finally, the family saw her for who she truly was. When the evening grew late and the dishes piled up, Claire slipped into the kitchen to clean. The water ran warm over her hands. The quiet was soothing. Then footsteps. Marla appeared in the doorway, her posture stiff, arms crossed. For the first time, her expression wasn't guarded, it was uncertain. "That cake," she began awkwardly. "It was incredible." Claire paused, then nodded politely. "Thank you." Marla's gaze dropped. "We didn't shut you out because we hated you," she said quietly, surprising Claire with her honesty. "We just didn't know what to do with someone who fits in so easily." Claire blinked. Of all the explanations she'd imagined, this wasn't one of them. "I'm not trying to replace anyone," she said sincerely. Marla nodded. "I know." The air between them, once thick with resentment, softened. A fragile shift, but a real one. Still, Claire sensed something deeper beneath Marla's words, something unsaid. Later that night, after everyone hugged goodbye and the house grew quiet, Claire walked down the dim hallway, turning off the lights. The soft glow from the Christmas tree flickered across the floor. Then she heard it. Whispering. Low. Urgent. Not meant for her ears. She stepped closer, her footsteps silent on the wooden floor, stopping just behind the wall near the entryway. Marla and Denise were still inside. They hadn't left. "Did you see how everyone reacted to her?" Denise whispered, voice trembling. "They adore her," Marla replied, sounding more shaken than angry. "If this keeps going, what place do we have left in this family?" Claire felt her breath catch, not from guilt, but from clarity. "They laughed at the cake," Denise said. "Our cake. Our tradition." "No," Marla corrected softly. "They laughed because they finally admitted it. We've been holding on to something no one even likes." Silence. Then Denise said the words Claire had never expected to hear. "She's changing everything. whether we want it or not. Claire stood completely still. The truth wasn't that they hated her. The truth was simpler and sadder. They feared becoming irrelevant. They feared losing control over a family that had always revolved around their roles, their routines, their traditions. They feared that Claire, without trying, without pushing, without demanding, had shifted the center of gravity in the family. Not by force, not by manipulation, simply by being herself. She stepped back quietly, choosing not to confront them. What good would it do? They weren't plotting against her. They were grappling with the uncomfortable reality that the family was evolving, and she had become a part of that evolution. Claire returned to the living room, watching the tree lights flicker softly. The house was warm, still filled with the faint scent of vanilla and holiday spices. Adam joined her moments later, slipping an arm around her shoulders. "You okay?" he whispered. She nodded. "Yeah, I think some things finally came to light tonight." He smiled gently. "You handled everything perfectly." She leaned into him, letting the warmth of the moment settle over her. Claire didn't need victory. She didn't need revenge. She didn't even need recognition. All she truly needed was the truth to be seen. And tonight, everyone had seen it openly, undeniably. When they leaned in for a soft goodnight kiss, Claire felt something lift inside her, a weight she had carried through years of silent dismissal and subtle exclusion. It was gone. Because the sweetest victories aren't loud. They're not explosive. They don't humiliate people or demand applause. They happen quietly. In the honest words of children, in the warm smiles of grateful family members, in the whispered fears of those who finally recognize what they tried to deny. Later, as Claire turned off the last light and headed upstairs, she heard a small voice behind her. "Aunt Claire?" She turned to see Lena, still awake, holding a plate with the last piece of cake. "Can I help you bake next time?" the girl asked softly. Claire smiled. "Always." Lena grinned, clutching the plate like treasure. Claire watched her walk away, a soft warmth blooming in her chest. Next time Lena visited, she'd bake her any cake she wanted. Not to compete, not to prove a point, not to replace anyone, but because in the end, the sweetest justice is simply being yourself and letting the truth speak louder than anyone's fear.